Hey, pause for a moment. Really pause. Let your eyes drift away from the screen. Look around you. Everything you see, every wall, every piece of furniture, every object within reach, once belonged to someone else. And one day, it will belong to someone else again. Your house, your car, your job title, your bank balance, even the image of who you think you are, can all vanish in an instant. The things we work so hard for can be taken from us without warning. Your possessions can break, your health can fade, your reputation can dissolve overnight. And even the people you love, the ones who fill your world with meaning, can leave by choice or by fate. That's the truth most people spend their whole lives trying not to see. We drown it out with noise, with busyness, with goals and endless distractions. Because silence often reveals what we fear most, that everything around us is temporary. But the Stoics, they didn't turn away from that truth. They faced it head on. They looked at impermanence not with despair, but with clarity. They knew a painful and liberating truth. You own nothing but your mind. Everything else, the clothes you wear, the titles you carry, the people you love, exists outside of your control. And yet, this isn't a message of loss. It's a message of freedom. Because when you finally realize what you don't control, you also realize what you do. You control your thoughts. You control your choices. You control how you interpret every moment of your life. That's it. And that's everything. You can lose your wealth, but not your wisdom. You can lose your health, but not your honor. You can lose your position, but not your principles, unless you choose to surrender them. Every empire, every dynasty, every monument of history has turned to dust. But ideas, ways of thinking, ways of seeing the world can outlive centuries. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet reminded himself daily that he was just a man, a temporary spark in the vastness of time. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he became freer than kings, because his freedom came from within. They learned to rule their minds while the rest of the world tried to rule everything else. And in doing so, they discovered a peace that no circumstance could touch. So ask yourself, what do you really own? Not your possessions, they can be taken. Not your relationships, they can change. Not your future, it's never guaranteed. You own only your mind, the invisible space within you that no power, no misfortune, no death can conquer. When you understand that, fear begins to lose its grip. Because how can the world scare you when it can take nothing essential from you? How can failure break you when your worth was never built on success? How can loss destroy you when you've already learned to let go? This is the foundation of Stoicism. Not apathy, not coldness, but the deepest kind of strength. Acceptance of what you cannot own and mastery of what you can. When the Stoics spoke of freedom, they weren't talking about wealth or status. They were talking about inner sovereignty, the power to govern your own mind no matter what storms rage outside. That is your true kingdom. Not your home, not your career, not your reputation, your mind. Within it lies everything you need to live well. Clarity, calm, reason, and resilience. And that's what this video is about. In this video, we'll explore 6 timeless Stoic rules that will help you master that inner kingdom. Rules that can teach you how to find peace in chaos, how to let go of what you can't control, and how to live with strength, clarity, and serenity, no matter what life brings. From Marcus Aurelius to Seneca to Epictetus, these ancient voices still whisper the same truth. Master your mind, and you master your world. So take a breath. Let go of what's outside your control, and let's begin. Rule 1. Everything is borrowed from nature. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, ruler of the most powerful empire of his time, began each morning not with celebration, but with humility. In his private journal, which we now know as Meditations, he wrote to himself simple truths, reminders to stay human in a world that worshipped power. One of those reminders was this: receive without pride, let go without attachment. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't written by a monk in isolation, but by a man surrounded by luxury, politics, and war. A man who could have anything, yet chose to remind himself that nothing was truly his. Marcus understood that everything we call mine, our possessions, our bodies, our relationships, is in truth borrowed from nature. Your body, borrowed from the earth. Your breath, borrowed from the air. Your mind, borrowed from the spark of consciousness that flows through all life. And your loved ones, borrowed from the unstoppable current of time. You did not create these things. You were gifted them for a season, and one day they must all return to the source they came from. This is one of the deepest Stoic lessons, that we are tenants, not owners, and everything we hold, no matter how tightly, will one day be taken back. Look at the world around you. The trees that line the streets, the homes we build, the monuments we raise in our names. They will all fade. The marble statues of emperors have cracked. The gold coins of kings are buried beneath the soil. Even the great pyramids, once symbols of eternity, are slowly wearing down under wind and sand. Time reclaims everything. And yet, this realization is not meant to crush us. It is meant to free us. Because when you truly see how temporary everything is, you stop living like a prisoner of fear. You stop clinging so hard to things you cannot keep. Marcus didn't write "let go" as an act of resignation. He wrote it as an act of liberation. When you know that all things are borrowed, you begin to treat them differently. You stop demanding that they stay, and you start appreciating them while they're here. Your morning coffee becomes sacred. The laughter of your child becomes music. Even the silence between two people becomes a moment worth noticing. Impermanence makes everything more vivid, more beautiful, because you know it will end. The Stoics often used metaphors to remind themselves of this truth. Imagine holding a delicate sand sculpture, an intricate work of art shaped by the wind and your hands. If you grip it too tightly, it crumbles. If you hold it gently, it stays long enough to be admired. That's how a Stoic lives. Gently, gratefully, without grasping. You see, the problem isn't that life is short. It's that we forget it is. We move through our days as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We speak harshly to loved ones, thinking there will always be another day to apologize. We postpone joy for someday, forgetting that someday is a fragile illusion. Marcus wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. When you live with this awareness, you love more deeply, forgive more easily, and fear less. You stop trying to possess the world, and you start to participate in it as a grateful guest, because everything you see, touch, or feel is on loan. Your time, your talents, your relationships, your very heartbeat, they were never truly yours to begin with. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. Nature gives, and nature takes away. The river flows, never hoarding a drop of its own water. The trees grow, only to shed their leaves when the season calls. The sun rises, not to own the sky, but to illuminate it for a while. So why do we, who are part of that same rhythm, resist the flow so desperately? The Stoic learns to flow with it, to receive everything with gratitude, and to release everything with grace, to love without needing to own, to give without expecting return, to live without demanding permanence. This is not detachment from life. It is deeper participation in it. Because when you stop clinging, your hands are finally free. to hold what matters, to give, to create, to let go. So appreciate everything, but depend on nothing. That is how Marcus Aurelius, an emperor of the world, remained a humble student of the universe. He ruled millions, but he never forgot that his crown, too, was borrowed. And in remembering that, he found a peace far greater than any throne could give. So ask yourself, what have you been gripping too tightly? What have you been afraid to lose? Whatever it is, remember this: you don't own it. You're simply sharing a moment with it. And when you learn to let life flow through you, not around you, not against you, that's when you finally begin to live as the Stoics did, in harmony with nature, not in resistance to it. Rule 2. Control begins within. Epictetus was born into slavery. He had no wealth, no freedom, no family of his own. Even his body was not his to command, and yet, he discovered a kind of freedom that even emperors could only dream of. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A simple sentence, but within it lies the key to unshakable peace. Because Epictetus understood something that most of us never truly grasp. Control begins within. He lived in chains, yet his mind was untouched. His master could command his body, but not his will. He could be beaten, humiliated, or silenced. But no one could force him to think or believe against his own reason. That is where true power lives. We often spend our lives chasing control, trying to bend the world to our desires. We want people to act a certain way. We want life to unfold on our terms. We want certainty in a world built on change. But the Stoics saw this struggle for what it really is, a recipe for suffering. Because no matter how hard you try, you cannot control the world. You can't control traffic that makes you late. You can't control politics that frustrate you. You can't control the weather, the market, or even the hearts of the people you love. You can't control what happens outside you, but you can always control what happens within. That's where your real power lies, in your perception, your interpretation, your response. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control, the clear distinction between what depends on us and what does not. Everything outside your mind, other people's opinions, accidents, outcomes, belongs to the realm of fate. But everything inside your mind, your judgments, your values, your choices, belongs to you. That is your domain, your kingdom, your fortress, Epictetus said. If you seek security in things outside your control, you will never find it. Think about that. If your peace depends on how others behave, you'll always be anxious. If your happiness depends on external success, you'll always be restless. If your worth depends on being praised, you'll always be enslaved. But when you realize that your peace depends only on your response, you become untouchable. Two people can face the same storm. One curses the rain, the other uses it to grow crops. The event is the same. The difference lies in interpretation. The Stoic chooses perception wisely. He asks, "Is this in my control?" If yes, he acts. If not, he accepts. Either way, he remains calm, and that calm is not weakness. It is mastery. It's easy to appear strong when life goes your way, but real strength is quiet. It's the steady breath in the middle of the storm. That's what Stoicism truly is. Not cold detachment, not indifference to life, but clarity in the face of chaos. It is the refusal to give your emotions away to every passing event. It's the courage to say, "I can't control the world, but I can control how I meet it." Because when your mind is calm, no chaos can touch you. Imagine walking through a crowded street. People shouting, cars honking, noise everywhere. Yet inside you, Silence. Imagine facing rejection, loss, or failure, and feeling peace, not panic. That is what Epictetus trained his students to achieve. He taught them not to build walls around their hearts, but to build wisdom within them. He told them, when someone insults you, remember, it's your choice whether to be insulted. That's radical control. Not of the world, but of the self. We often think freedom means doing whatever we want. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Freedom means not being ruled by our wants. It means not being a slave to anger, fear, or desire. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery doesn't come from escaping life. It comes from engaging with it consciously. Every irritation is a test of your patience. Every loss is a test of your acceptance. Every disappointment is a lesson in letting go. The Stoics believe that life is a training ground. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue, to practice self-command. When you stop trying to rule others and start mastering yourself, you discover a power that no one can take away. You become steady in the midst of storms. You become the calm in the chaos. And in that calm, you find a kind of freedom the world cannot offer. Because the world can break your body, but not your spirit, unless you let it. Epictetus knew this better than anyone. He walked the earth with nothing, no wealth, no possessions, but a mind that was unshakable. That is real power. That is true control, and that is the essence of Stoicism. Not the absence of feeling, but the presence of clarity. So when the world seems out of control, when people disappoint you, when fate throws you into uncertainty, remember this. You always have one choice left. The choice of how you will see, how you will think, how you will respond, and if your mind is calm, no chaos can touch you. Rule 3. Attachment is the root of suffering. Every time you cling to something, you give away a piece of your freedom. We all do it. We say, my job, my partner, my home, my reputation. But stop for a moment. Are they really yours? If losing them could destroy your peace, then maybe they own you more than you own them. The Stoics saw attachment as the invisible chain that binds the mind, a chain made not of metal, but of expectation. Seneca wrote, "He who needs riches least enjoys riches most," because when you stop needing things to stay happy, you finally start to enjoy them as they truly are. Gifts, not guarantees. The truth is, attachment blinds us. It whispers that happiness lives somewhere outside us, in a title, a person, a possession, some future moment when everything finally feels right. But the Stoics knew the truth. Freedom lives where attachment ends. They weren't telling us to withdraw from life or become emotionless. They were teaching us how to love, purely, freely, deeply, without losing ourselves in the process. Attachment is not love. Attachment is the fear of losing love. It's the trembling hand that holds too tightly, the anxious thought that says, what if this goes away? And that fear, that desperate clinging, is the seed of suffering. The Stoic doesn't reject love. He simply loves differently. He loves with awareness, knowing that everything and everyone he cherishes exists within the flow of change. He doesn't demand that the flower never wilt. He admires it while it blooms, grateful for the beauty it gives before it fades. Because he knows that the flower's impermanence is part of what makes it beautiful. We live in a world obsessed with ownership. We want to own time, people, outcomes, even happiness. We attach mine to everything. My success, my image, my dreams. But the moment you say mine, you've given fear a place to live. Because what you think you own, you start to fear losing. and what you fear losing begins to own you. That's the subtle prison Seneca warned about, not one built by society, but by the mind itself. He taught that the path to serenity lies not in owning more, but in needing less. Because when your peace no longer depends on anything outside yourself, you finally discover a kind of joy that cannot be taken. Freedom, to the Stoics, was never about isolation. It was about clarity, about seeing things as they are, temporary, fleeting, and yet still beautiful. When you understand impermanence, you stop begging the moment to stay. You start saying thank you instead of don't go. You can love someone fully without needing to cage them. You can hold success in your hands without worshiping it. You can enjoy comfort without depending on it. That's what it means to care without clinging. It's not coldness. It's warmth without fear. It's compassion without control. The Stoic heart is open, but unbound. It loves what life gives and releases what life takes away. Think of life like a river. Everything flows constantly, silently, inevitably. The more you try to hold the water, the faster it slips through your fingers. But if you learn to flow with it, you begin to feel peace, not loss. The Stoics trained themselves daily to remember this truth. They practiced memento mori, remembering that everything changes and all things end. Not to be dark, but to be awake. To live fully in the now, because nothing beyond it is promised. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." This wasn't a call to sadness. It was a call to presence, to see each moment as borrowed time. To hold everything with open hands. Ask yourself, what are you clinging to? What are you afraid to lose? A relationship? A title? An identity? What if letting go of that attachment didn't mean losing it, but finally being free to enjoy it? Because the truth is, the tighter you hold something, the more fragile it becomes. But when you hold it lightly, it can breathe. And so can you. The Stoic doesn't reject the world. He embraces it as it is, constantly changing, imperfect, alive. He walks through life not as an owner, but as a guest, grateful for every experience, yet ready to say goodbye when the time comes, and in that readiness, he finds peace. Because peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from knowing you can let go. So appreciate everything, but depend on nothing. Love people deeply, but understand they are not yours. Work hard, but don't let success define your worth. Enjoy pleasure, but don't let it become your master, because when you stop clinging, you don't lose the world, you finally see it clearly, and when you see it clearly, you realize the more lightly you hold the world, the less it can break your heart. Rule 4. Desire is a subtle prison. Desire can be a beautiful fire, or a consuming one. It can warm your soul, or it can burn you from the inside out. We live in a world that thrives on this fire, a world that profits from your dissatisfaction. Every advertisement, every influencer, every glossy image whispers the same poison in different words. You are not enough. You need more money, more followers, more status, more comfort, more pleasure. It never ends. Because the system isn't built to satisfy you. It's built to keep you wanting. Desire, when untrained, becomes a master. It pulls your strings. It tells you what to chase, what to fear, what to value. And you run, faster, harder, thinking happiness lies just one step ahead. But Stoicism offers an antidote, a quiet rebellion. It says, train your mind to want less. When you reduce desire, you don't lose richness, you gain clarity. You begin to see how little you actually need to be content. A meal to fill your belly, a roof to keep you dry, a friend to share laughter, a mind at peace. Everything else is luxury. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." He wasn't rejecting prosperity. He was redefining it. True wealth isn't measured by how much you own, but by how little you crave. Think about it. If peace depends on constant acquisition, on always getting, always having, then your happiness is forever held hostage by circumstance. You'll become a slave to the external world, to markets, to opinions, to outcomes you can't control. But if peace depends only on your mind, you are free anywhere, anytime. Even in poverty, you can feel rich. Even in solitude, you can feel whole. Because you've discovered the one thing the world cannot take. Contentment within, desire by itself, isn't evil. It's natural to want. The Stoics didn't tell us to stop desiring. They told us to understand desire. Desire is like fire, useful when contained, destructive when left wild. A little desire can motivate growth, art, love, change. But when it rules you, it devours your peace. We chase things believing they'll make us whole. But the moment we get them, our minds move the goalpost. The new car becomes just a car. The new job becomes just work. The dream house becomes just walls. And we say, maybe the next thing will be enough. But it never is. Because the hunger doesn't live in the world. It lives in the mind. Try this. The next time you feel that familiar pull to buy something you don't need, to impress someone you don't even like, to chase some image of success, pause, just pause. Ask yourself, will this truly add peace to my life? Or just another craving to feed tomorrow? Most of the time, if you listen in the silence, the answer will rise quietly. You don't need it. You already have enough. Maybe not everything you want, but everything you need. A heartbeat, a breath, a moment of awareness. That's life, raw and unfiltered. And if you can be content with that, you've already escaped a prison most people never. See, the Stoics believe that happiness isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting the unnecessary. Strip away all the excess. And what remains is peace. When you no longer need wealth to feel rich, you are truly wealthy. When you no longer need praise to feel worthy, you are truly free. When you no longer need certainty to move forward, you are truly alive. This is the quiet revolution of Stoicism, to turn inward, to cultivate joy from what cannot be taken away. Because desire, if left unexamined, becomes a cage. But once you understand it, once you master it, that cage turns into an open gate, and beyond it lies the only thing every Stoic sought: tranquility. Not the hollow calm of escape, but the steady peace of understanding. So, the next time you feel desire rising, don't fight it. Observe it, study it. Ask it what it truly wants. You'll find, beneath every craving, a simpler need to feel safe, to feel whole, to feel loved. And that, the Stoics would remind you, is something no object, no possession, no achievement can ever give. It's already within you. You just have to clear the noise long enough to see it. So remember, you don't conquer desire by force. You free yourself from it through understanding, because peace is not found in getting more, but in needing less. And when you master your desires, you master your life. Rule 5. Loss reveals your strength. Loss is the great revealer. It strips away the noise, the illusions, the fragile layers we build around ourselves, and shows us who we really are. When life takes something from you, it doesn't just leave emptiness. It leaves a mirror that asks, quietly but firmly, what did you truly value? What did you truly control? And what was only borrowed? Most of us live believing we hold the reins of life. We plan, we predict, we protect. But then, loss arrives, a job disappears. A friend turns distant. A loved one passes. A dream shatters. And in that silence after the storm, we meet a truth the Stoics faced head-on. You never controlled anything but your mind. That realization can crush you, or it can set you free. Because when life takes something from you, you can ask one question that changes everything. Did it take my peace or just my illusion of control? If your peace remains, then you've lost nothing essential. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, philosopher of endurance, knew this truth intimately. He buried children. He led through plague. He was betrayed by those he trusted most. And yet, in the depths of hardship, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He didn't just endure suffering, he used it. Every obstacle, every loss, every grief became a doorway to understanding. A test of inner strength. For Marcus, loss wasn't an interruption to life. It was life itself doing its sacred work. Loss doesn't break you. It builds you. It strips away the unnecessary and leaves behind only what's real. Your mind, your virtue, your resilience. That's why the Stoics trained daily in detachment, not to feel less, but to fear less. They understood that peace isn't found in avoiding pain, but in facing it with wisdom. Because pain is the sculptor, and every scar is a chisel mark carving strength into the soul. Think about it. The strongest trees grow where the wind is fiercest. The sharpest blades are forged in the hottest fire. The calmest minds are shaped by storms they've survived. Every difficulty is training. Every setback is a classroom. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What is this teaching me?" Because when you see challenges as teachers, you can walk through pain without bitterness. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of fate and start seeing yourself as a student of it. Seneca wrote that adversity reveals the soul like fire reveals gold. If you are weak, the flame consumes you. If you are strong, it refines you. So when loss comes, and it always will, don't ask for it to end. Ask for the wisdom to endure it, because loss in truth is not the enemy. It's the teacher that strips away everything false, leaving only what's unbreakable. Your character, your reason, your peace. Look around. Everything changes. Everything passes. That's the nature of existence, and it's not cruel. The Stoics didn't see impermanence as tragedy. They saw it as truth. When you stop resisting loss, you start flowing with reality. You stop saying, "Why did this happen to me?" and start saying, "This happened for me," to strengthen what remains. That's true Stoic strength. Not to avoid suffering, but to transform it. To turn pain into wisdom. To turn grief into gratitude. To turn obstacles into the path itself. Imagine a warrior standing in the rain, cold, drenched, but calm. The storm doesn't shake him. It trains him. Every hardship he faces becomes another layer of armor, forged not of metal, but of understanding. That's what loss does. It hardens your spirit, softens your ego, and deepens your humanity. You begin to realize that you don't grow despite the pain. You grow through it. So the next time life takes something from you, don't rush to fill the emptiness. Sit with it. Listen. Because in that silence, you might hear something extraordinary. The sound of your own strength speaking back to you. The voice that says, "I am still here. I still have my mind. I still have my peace." That voice, calm, unwavering, unbreakable, is your true self. And once you've met it, you'll never fear loss again, because you'll know the things you lose were never truly yours. But the strength you gain from losing them, that's yours forever. Rule 6. Freedom comes from letting go. Imagine walking through chaos and staying calm. Imagine losing everything and still smiling. That's not fantasy. That's Stoic freedom. It's not about escaping the world. It's about no longer being ruled by it. Because when nothing external owns you, you can walk through storms and remain serene. You become like the mountain. Winds may howl, rain may fall, lightning may strike, but the mountain does not move. That's the freedom the Stoics trained for. Not the freedom to do whatever they wanted, but the freedom to feel unshaken, no matter what happened. Because they realized the world can take everything, except your mind, your wealth, your health, your reputation, your comfort. They can all vanish overnight, but your mind, your reason, your principles, those are yours alone. That is your true fortress, unseen, but unbreakable. This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private notes, never meant for fame, but for himself, to remind his own heart, again and again. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This wasn't just philosophy, it was training, a daily practice. The Stoics didn't talk about resilience, they built it. They reflected. They journaled. They faced their fears in thought and action. In silence, they practiced memento mori, remembering death, not to be morbid, but to remind themselves that life's fragility is what makes it precious. Every breath could be your last. And that's not a reason for despair. That's a reason to live more honestly, to stop wasting time on what doesn't matter, to stop clinging to illusions of control, to stop fearing what's inevitable. They practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor, fasting, wearing simple clothes, not to suffer, but to remember. To remind themselves, I can live without luxury. I can live without excess. I can live without the things the world calls necessary. And when you prove that to yourself, you become free in a way that comfort can never offer, because comfort makes you soft. But simplicity, chosen simplicity, makes you strong. When you learn that happiness is not in comfort, but in character, no loss can frighten you. That's what Stoic freedom really means. It's not about being untouchable. It's about being unshaken. It's not about running from pain. It's about learning that pain cannot rule you. When you own your mind, truly own it. No loss, no insult, no failure can shake you. You become still in a world that never stops moving. You become clear in a world clouded by noise. You become calm in a world that feeds on outrage. That's what makes the Stoic unbreakable. To be unbreakable doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel deeply, but you're not ruled by what you feel. Anger may visit, but it does not command. Fear may whisper, but it does not decide. Loss may wound, but it does not destroy. That's what the Stoics built through practice. A mind so disciplined that it stands even when the world collapses around it. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine losing everything. Your money, your job, your image, even the people you love. It's painful, yes, but underneath that pain is something still alive. A stillness, a presence, a quiet voice that says, I am still here. That voice, calm, unwavering, untouched, is your true self. The Stoics called it logos, the rational soul, the spark of divine order within you. You can lose everything else, but not that. That is the center. That is freedom. When you reach that place, where nothing external owns you, where your peace comes from within, you don't just survive the storms. You walk through them with grace. The world can take your possessions. It can take your comfort. It can take your reputation, but it cannot take your mind unless you hand it over. And that is the essence of Stoic mastery. So practice simplicity. Face discomfort willingly. Remember that death will one day come, and let that truth sharpen your focus, not darken your spirit. Because when you live with awareness of life's fragility, you stop wasting your time chasing what doesn't matter. You stop being afraid of what's inevitable. You stop clinging and you start living freely, completely, courageously. That's Stoic freedom. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace. Not escape from life, but mastery of it. And when you own your mind, truly own it, you become something the world cannot break. You become stillness in motion, fire without smoke, strength without arrogance, freedom without walls. The mind you master is the world. You rule, so remember, everything you think you own, your possessions, your home, your success, your reputation, none of it is truly yours. You don't own your possessions. They can be stolen, lost, or broken. You don't own your status. It's written in sand, not stone. One tide of public opinion can wash it away. You don't even own tomorrow, because tomorrow is a promise life never makes. But there is one thing, one sacred thing that you do own: your mind. Your mind is your true home, your fortress, your kingdom. It's the one place the world cannot invade unless you leave the gate open. It's where your thoughts take shape, where your choices are born, where your peace or your suffering begins. Everything outside you is borrowed. Everything inside you is built, so protect it. Guard it like a flame in the wind, because the world will try every single day to blow it out. It will try to make you angry, to make you afraid, to make you crave, compete, compare, and consume. It will try to convince you that your worth is measured by numbers, possessions, or applause. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic smiles quietly because they've built their peace on ground no storm can touch. Train your mind. Not once, not occasionally, but daily. The way a soldier sharpens his blade, the way an artist perfects her craft, the way a monk tends the temple. Train it through reflection, through stillness, through awareness. Catch your thoughts before they catch you. Ask yourself, is this under my control? If not, release it. If yes, master it. That is the Stoic path. Simple, but not easy. Hard, but worth every step. Master your reactions. Master your emotions. Master your focus. Because once you do, the world no longer decides your peace. You do. No insult can shake you. No failure can define you. No loss can destroy you. When you master your mind, you stop being a prisoner of circumstance. You become the architect of your inner world. And when your inner world is ordered, the outer world loses its power to disturb it. Think of the great Stoics: Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, emperors and slaves. Powerful and powerless, yet all of them found the same freedom, inward freedom. Epictetus had chains on his body, but none on his thoughts. Marcus Aurelius ruled millions, yet ruled himself first. Seneca was surrounded by wealth, yet practiced simplicity daily. Different lives, same truth. That peace is not found in control over others, but in mastery over self. So protect your mind. Train it, strengthen it. It is your most sacred responsibility, because the mind you neglect becomes your master. But the mind you master becomes your greatest ally. Once you own your thoughts, you own your freedom. Once you rule your emotions, you rule your destiny. Once you master your mind, you master your life. And when that happens, nothing and no one can ever break you again. The Stoics didn't promise an easy life. They promised a strong one. They didn't teach you how to escape the storm. They taught you how to stand in it. Because freedom isn't the absence of chaos, it's calmness within it. And that calmness, that quiet strength, comes from one thing only: your mind. So remember, you don't own your possessions. You don't own your status. You don't even own tomorrow, but you do own your mind. Protect it, train it, master it. Because once you do, you'll realize the truth the Stoics lived by. The mind you master is the world you rule. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Stoic Sage Academy for more timeless wisdom. And remember, you don't need to change the world to find peace. You only need to master the one place you truly own.